your co-hosting. Oh, hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Dev Tips. My name is Travis, coming at you. Here, wait, I did a thing.
You did a thing.
It's taken a long time. Dang it. Where did I uploaded it? Oh yeah, I got this thing. See that?
Hey,
I got
nice.
This. It's Dev
Very
Tips.
fancy.
It's Dev Tips show.
Wow.
Welcome to the show. Yo, we got co-host Max down there, chilling like an evil villain this way. And then we got our special guest, Scott Tolinski, Scott of the Syntax Podcast fam, saying hello. What's up, Scott? What's up, Max? How are you guys doing today?
Oh man, doing good.
Excellent.
Sunday.
It's
Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah, we stream on Sunday. It's like the day we all have these really complicated schedules. And fun fact, we're like on the opposite sides of the planet.
Mm-hmm.
We're like 12 hours different. So like if it's streaming in the afternoon for me, it's midnight for Max. But luckily he was raised by wolves. He's out howling at the moon all the time. So yeah, I want to hear about we didn't really have that much time usually we catch up in the green room. I want to hear about your week, Max. How you been?
I have been good.
Yeah.
Week was great. Took a little road trip this weekend to a place called Peniche. It's a little peninsula on the, I think one of the most westernmost points of Europe that you can go to.
Damn.
Really beautiful place. Great food, seafood, fresh seafood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you snap any pics, man?
A lot, yeah. Got a lot of footage. I'm gonna be putting out a cool little video.
You are? Okay, great.
With some music.
Dude, Scott does these. Max does these videos because he's also a musician. He's a really talented producer, and he makes these kind of. I don't know. How would you describe these?
I like to call them music videos. Or
They are.
Could it be considered a
video
vignette?
art. Yeah, maybe a little vignette of a city, a little
Yeah.
a visual montage.
That's dope, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, speaking of music, I've been trying to return to my roots. Oh, I'm plugged in over here. Unplug it. I've been making some fresh beats with my 404 this week.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really nice because it lights up with a nice bright orange, and at night I'm just like, ooh, just trying to vibe it on these. I'm pressing buttons and seeing them glow. It's just hearing those beats. Yes, Scott, how's your week been, bud?
Oh, it's been crazy, man. We had a full house, a lot of family visiting, so it's just been like kids, doing all the kid stuff, just going nuts the whole time. So yeah. It's been wild. I think today is maybe a little bit more on the come down today after all the excitement from the week, right?
Yeah, dude, you got kids that are in that really great stage where they're like active and fun and like they want to play games with you all the time.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's really great. How often do you like? Every time I talk to you, it seems like you have somebody in town. Do you guys host a lot?
I would have said no, but like, yeah, it kind of feels that way. A lot of people, I know, you've never been to Colorado, want to come out to Colorado and see the stuff. So yeah. We'll have people over, or even just like, I don't know, just come to hang out and not necessarily even stay at our place, but just come hang out at our house or whatever. But yeah, it doesn't seem like a ton, but yeah. By the way, Travis, you're welcome anytime.
Dude, well, I've been to Colorado, and we've had breakfast where I've been passing through a few times.
Yeah.
That's good, man. And remember when we went to VidCon together?
Yes, that was a very long time ago. That was, and we recorded in a hotel room. I think a video for your channel, a video for my channel. I had to do half and half. That was a lot of fun, though, Travis. We saw Fred at the after party.
Like, it's Fred.
Yes,
that guy.
You remember?
Yeah, dude. Oh yeah.
Because I didn't know who Fred was, and you were like,
"Who's Fred?"
He's some really annoying kid influencer from like way back.
Yeah, he's like original YouTube royalty. Like way back.
Yeah.
And we also saw Pomplamoose live, which is Jack Conte's band.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so Jack Conte is the CEO of Patreon, and he has a band with his wife called Pomplamoose, and they played at that VidCon. I think it was that one. And we went out. That's when he stole my phone from the crowd. Like I was in the filming him. Like we were all in the crowd dancing and stuff. And he grabs my phone and starts running around with it. And I was just like, what? And then like at the end of the show, he's like, whose phone is this?
Oh my god. Oh man,
Those are the days.
all I remember from that VidCon was you talking to everybody, introducing me to all kinds of people that you didn't know, and then when we were at the after party, you were just like, "That's Fred over there," and he walked in with like 8 bodyguards or something, and I was like, "Who the hell is Fred? I don't know. Like, what are you talking about, man?"
Dude, going to VidCon is cool when you have a buddy, because then you can, it's like my hack was like, I introduce you. They don't know who I am either. I'm like, this is Scott. You got to meet him, and they're like, well, who are you? Like, oh, me too. It's a good hack. All right. Well, dude, let's talk about the news a little bit. This is just something I just wanted to ask you guys. Did you hear about what happened with Microsoft and their
Yeah.
Can you explain that to me? Kind of. All I know is that it was like a really big deal infrastructure wise. Like
yeah.
Like airports were down or something like that.
Yeah, my understanding is that there's antivirus software that a lot of these folks are running, and they pushed an update overnight, and that update caused like a panic on boot. And so like the computers would just blue screen when they went to turn on.
Right.
And I think people like examined they was trying to load some data, and it was like completely nonsensical, like a bunch of zeros instead of actual data, and that was causing it. But I haven't dove into it. It's funny, we do every Halloween, we do dev horror stories where developers write in about like, I pushed an update and it charged my company $10,000 or something, just like all the stuff that developers do. And it's like, I really gotta, I know they're not going to make that person public, but really be interesting to get some stories
to
from
hear
that.
who halted the United States infrastructure overnight.
Yeah, my God.
Yeah. And so it was like a partner of Microsoft. It's like an antivirus that it goes along with it. It wasn't MS themselves, right?
That's my understanding of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't take that as fact. Take that as that's my understanding.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, I'm really excited to have you in the studio today, Scott. It's been a while. We have some friends of the show saying hello. Hey, from the UK, MS is showing up here. I want to show my little swag, my Syntax swag here. Oh, I also got my Syntax mug. I should be drinking out of this week.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Yeah.
I'm rocking the classic Level Up Tutorials mug.
Oh, dude, that's
Very classic.
That's the before the before.
Yes.
I like that.
We did these as gifts for people who were contributing to Level Up one year.
See, you're so swaggy. You've always got the good stuff. I like it. I also have a really awesome Syntax t-shirt that I should have been wearing.
Hell yeah.
Can I ask a question about the horror stories?
Yeah.
I'm guessing you probably got a lot of submissions, but so you started to maybe see a trend.
Yeah.
And I'm curious how much of that trend became like cloud functions that were poorly written and didn't shut off or had a recursive loop and ended up charging, whether it was on Amazon or on even Vercel, was that something that happened a lot, or can you
surprisingly
give us an
not.
idea of like some of the trends that you noticed?
Yeah, you would think that would, and maybe we're going to get more of that as more people are moving on to those. But a lot of what we see, because we've now done it almost every year, I think. We've been doing it almost since the show started. So we have a ton of these stories, and every single year we get too many. But we see oftentimes, pushing on a Friday and not having like proper infrastructure to prevent issues.
Pushing straight to production.
There's oftentimes like decimal misplacement is a big one. And I'm trying to think, or like sometimes, people thinking that they're working in their test environment and they're actually working in production or something, or sending out a test message to their env variables got switched, so they accidentally send using the production mail server or something. There's like a handful of things that happen, and it's mostly they could all be resolved with one, sometimes TypeScript, two, having a little bit better of a deploy process, or paying attention to what you're working on. People drop database tables all the time. There's a ton of drop database tables. That's like a constant. They're either accidentally dropping all of prod, and luckily somebody had a backup, or they deleted something they thought was a backup, and it's crazy.
Yeah, a lot of that boils down to checks and balances.
Yeah.
Having a staging environment. But I am surprised that the recursive loops running out of control on a cloud service wasn't something, because I've actually seen that. I have some horror stories that I've observed, and it was that someone deployed a rogue function, and overnight it racked up like 30K or something, and they shut down all the servers. Like, I've seen that happen at several places. And as well
I
as
see it on Twitter a lot. People talking about that. Yeah.
yeah, it's terrifying. But not if you have your checks and balances in place.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I know that's even a tough situation, because sometimes it's even traffic where people just don't even know they're going to get hammered with traffic. They don't know what their site cost would even incur if they did get hammered with traffic. So yeah, there's
a lot of vague pricing outlines for people.
Yeah.
Have you guys ran personally into any bandwidth bottlenecks or weird like DDoS stuff, attacks maybe from bots or anything like that?
No, I actually host all my stuff on a $5 a month Hetzner ARM server somewhere. So everything that I run for my own personal projects, like I'm just using a platform called Coolify, which is kind of like a self-hosted platform as a service. So it feels a lot like, maybe not like as comfortable as something like Vercel does in the back end, but it feels like you have a UI. You can attach your GitHub repos. You get that continuous deployment. So I have that installed on a $5 a month VPS. I point all my database or all my domains there. I host all my databases there. But Syntax, with an agreement that we had with Vercel since day one, because the site used to be a Next.js site, they took over, and it's hosted on Vercel, and they're covering the cost of whatever it is. So we don't have like crazy traffic anyways. So that's just a nice thing they do for us. But yeah, I would be interested to know like what it would actually be costing us, because we don't get a bill for it.
Actually, speaking of Syntax traffic, where do you get the most of your people listening in?
In location wise?
No, I mean like, is it like, because you guys are downloading, because you're a podcast and you're syndicated through different like devices like the Apple podcast. You're on YouTube. You have your own website. Where do people find you the most?
Yeah, so forever it's been the podcast, and it still is. When the podcast launched, it got a lot of traffic immediately, just because like Wes and I both had like different audiences coming from different places, right? From YouTube and from Twitter for Wes and his courses and his platform. So, the podcast was kind of it forever, and it's kind of remained that way until now. We've been seeing recently in the past like year or so, Spotify for both video and audio is like huge because they do better findability. Like podcast SEO is like kind of a thing on Spotify, more so than it is anywhere else, except for maybe YouTube. And then now, as of March of this year, we started doing YouTube like full time for every episode. We're releasing like additional content that like dives deeper, where CJ is doing like deep dives into stuff that we're talking about on the show on YouTube. And you know what, Travis, it's really hard to build a YouTube account up that has been kind of stagnant for like 8 years or something, right? So we're like having to really hunt for that audience all over again, even though everything on YouTube is like addition to what we typically get with the podcast. So people are primarily finding us on the podcast still, and we're trying to like constantly remind, hey, we're everywhere now. I did meet somebody who said that they only knew us because they were at our live show in Miami, and they only knew us from TikTok. They were like, I watch your guys' TikToks all the time. And those are just clips from the show. But they're like, yeah, I follow you guys on TikTok. Watch all of them. And we're like, huh, you never listened to the show?
TikTok?
What's that?
You guys have been active on TikTok for how long?
We started in October of last year. And actually, we first started by publishing every single one of the horror stories, the dev horror stories. And I painstakingly did like a spooky font and color scheme for every single one of them. So that was like our introduction. It was just to see like, all right, if we're going from 0 to nothing, or from nothing to, 100, like what would this even look like? And so I just did it myself, chopped them all up and edited it together. And then now Caitlin, our marketing manager, does it all along with our editor. So, yeah.
Oh, I'm excited to hear that Caitlin's working with you guys still. I know that when you guys were transferred over to Century, because Caitlin's, she's been with you since Level Up Tuts, right?
Yeah.
Caitlin's awesome.
Yeah, Caitlin's awesome. And it was great that, she was able to continue on and move to Syntax. It was funny because like moving to a new brand, I think, was difficult for her. She had like built up all this knowledge of Level Up as a brand, she had a lot of control, and she still has just as much control. But now it's like, all right, there's Wes, and then we have a boss at Sentry. His name's Ben Vinegar. He works on syntax as well. So now she's reporting to Ben. She's got to worry about Wes's opinion on everything as well. Where before it was just like you could hash it all out really quickly. But she's doing great. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I want to talk more about syntax in the future, but this is a podcast interview. We want to do an interview. And what I like to do with my warm-ups, I like to do a little bit of warm-up action. I want to ask you a few silly questions. The first one is like, what animal would you be if you're an animal?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one because I think like realistically, I'm probably some kind of monkey. I'm always climbing on things. I'm always like I'm kind of like a mover arounder in that regard.
Yeah.
I'm definitely like I'm the guy climbing stuff, but I think in some ways I'm a penguin.
Penguin.
I got even penguins tattooed right here. They're upside down.
Yeah. And what's the significance of the tattoos?
Oh, the tattoo this is my wife and I. Although when I got the because they mate for life, they're really cute like that, and this is like a photorealistic penguin. I got the tattoo. She's like, I'm not a penguin. I was like, that's not the point. It's a romantic gesture. Yeah, it's a metaphor. But for the penguin thing, I think penguins they're kind of seen as like they're goofy sometimes, like goofy, but actually very practical. So. Like me personally, I'm like a pretty logical thinker, but I think a lot of people think I'm pretty goofy sometimes. So, yeah.
A penguin, a cross between a penguin and a monkey.
Yeah, exactly. I've been hearing people tell me that I'm like weird my whole life. In college, I'm like, oh, there's Scott. He's gonna come and do some breakdancing or something weird. Like
there's that penguin monkey.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's my next question is like, what do you do that like surprises people after they get to know you? They're like, oh, I didn't realize that about you. What is the thing?
Yeah, it's definitely the dance stuff. So I've been dancing for like 21 years now. And at a high level, I used to travel around the States. We used to enter big competitions everywhere. Just every other weekend. I was practicing like 4 or 5 days a week. I've been in a ton of really awful music videos. And that's the thing is like, so it's a breakdancing is what I do, breaking. Breakdancing it's funny because I say breakdancing to normal folks because the breakdancing world really hates that word. That word they don't really? Just call it breaking. Or before that it was b-boy, b-girl. There's all these things that like you're not supposed to say breakdancing. So even when I say it on podcasts and like I know dancers will listen to them and they'll be like, oh, breakdancing, huh? That's what you're saying. But I'm like, nobody knows what it is otherwise.
Clarify yourself in public.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that people hear that like, and they don't realize I'm like engulfed in the culture and like have been doing it for a long time, and I'm actually like very good to say that like in a non I don't know, like that's the whole thing when people see me.
Proud?
Yeah,
it's okay.
Yeah, when people see me and they think like, oh, you're a breakdancer, they think you can do like a windmill or something like basic, and it's like, no, I've been doing this for 21 years. I put a ton of time into it, and like I busted some stuff out at the most recent like auction that our school had, and like every single parent there was like, what the hell? So
that's so funny. Impress your kids' friends' parents.
yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. That's all it is now. At weddings, I was trying to enter a battle this year, but I just keep getting injured. Like at this age, you're just getting injured 24/7. So.
Yeah, you said like a lot goes into it, right? Like, so tell me, what's your routine to stay sharp? Do you have like a routine, like a workout or something you do all the time? And how often do you do it? I just generally work out like 4 days a week. But the dance stuff I do once a week now because it's really hard on your body at this age. And the best thing about going to dance practice where I go, they call it session. We go to sesh, right? The best part of going to sesh is that like there's like 20 dudes there, and everybody shows up. They know each other. There's music on the whole time. There's like 2 or 3 areas for people to practice on in a big dance floor, and you just take turns sharing your expression on the floor. Like it's like he goes, then I go, then somebody else goes, and then sometimes you're having a conversation via like, oh, that's kind of what you're into right now. Let me
explore those ideas too. And it's really not for probably for worse, not for better. It's not structured at all.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
just showing up and exploring movement, right? And if I want to do one thing the entire time, I can. And if I want to do something crazy or whatever, just do whatever you want.
It's very improvisational.
Extremely.
You just kind of, you feel the vibe, you go into the circle and you come out at whatever the vibe tells you.
It's almost entirely improvisational. You have
Yeah.
like your set movement patterns, but you don't have them like even in a competition. You don't even know what song is going to play the moment that you walk out. You could be walking out to start dancing to do your set, and they could change the song on you, and all of a sudden you're like, all right, new song. Like one time I got, Papa's Got a Brand New Bag or something, and there's like the guitar pro, and I like pulled my leg back and did like a guitar thing on it, and like people went nuts. I'm like, I just fucking made that up, So. A lot of it is like knowing how to react in that moment, or like being able to do that. There's a lot of like, personality involved there that you have to like really, I don't know, hone in the finesse and personality of it all.
Is there like a lot of like Zen about it? Like you have to be in the moment, you have to be ready and kind of, be ready to follow wherever it takes you.
Especially at practice. Practice feels that way. Competitions and what's called the cipher feels that way. Cipher is like just a circle. You're all taking turns, and there's no competition element unless there ends up becoming a competition element. I had a battle in a cipher once in Chicago, and it was not friendly at all. So there's definitely like times where it's friendly.
What does a
and other times where it's not.
non-friendly b-boy battle look like?
Well, in Chicago, it can occasionally devolve into
I'm a huge fan
fighting.
of like actually a fist fight.
In Chicago, mostly.
Okay. Dude, okay, cool. I really love like those dance films, like The Streets, or what is it called? Step Up and all those. Like, I love that stuff, I watched it on purpose. I like it. So you got into breakdancing when you were younger. Tell us about your childhood. Where did you grow up?
Yeah, I grew up in Southeast Michigan. So initially Troy, Michigan, and then went to high school in Brighton, Michigan. And Troy, a bit bigger of a city, is a little bit more of like a suburb of Detroit. And then Brighton is a little farmy, right? When we moved out there, it was nothing. It was like 2 years into living there, we got a Target, and it was a huge deal. Like everyone went nuts. So that's where I did high school and all of that. And it was kind of wild because like Troy, very multicultural, and Brighton, very not multicultural. So it was kind of a shock to me to go to that kind of situation and be like, oh, okay, what's going on here?
How did that inform your like outlook on life? How did that inform the way you operate today?
Yeah. I don't know. It made me aware of those types of communities from the get-go, where it was just like very intolerant everywhere about everything. And even more so in other cities that were surrounding. Ours was good by the standards of the area in terms of those things. So I don't know. It was like very informative about like the types of people that I wanted to be around in school,
Right.
You get a really good vibe check from somebody right away. So all of my friends from high school, I've really, they're still good friends to this day just because, very similar type of people.
Yeah. Well, you're good at keeping like relationships alive. You're good at keeping contact with people. What kind of stuff did you do like for fun as a youth in those areas?
I did a lot of rollerblading. I played the drums too. I played the drums in a band. Battle of the Bands was like a huge thing at our school, and we won it many times. And we did concerts. I got to do a concert from the local radio station and stuff like that. So yeah, I played in a band. We played all over and did a lot of recording. But I also for the rollerblading thing, I got to really do a lot of competitions and stuff. So again, just like with dance, I was like really involved in it, where I was there at the skate park every week. And at that point, rollerblading was like still very popular. So I was able to get like a mini sponsorship by Vans at that point, and I got to like open up the very first Vans skate park in Michigan. So it was like a press opening, and it was like me and 6 other people were the only the first people to skate this entire park, and it was like a Vans park. And I got to go backstage at the Warped Tour and stuff. It was cool.
Yeah, that's a cool highlight. I like that. Are there any other like crazy stories, or like some, like if you were to go back to Michigan, see all your friends, like what are the kind of stories that get told about you?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I get told about me. I don't know. I think people would mostly remember that I was into the band stuff more than anything. Like
Really?
our band even played Warped Tour and stuff. So like I was mostly known for playing drums in the popular band at school, and it was like a rock band.
What was the name?
We were space rock.
Oh, Space Rock, cool.
We were space rock. Yeah, it was Set Focus, which is actually a Flash method. So Adobe Flash. So we got the name directly from Adobe Flash. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I remember that now. Yeah.
That's the type of band we were. Yeah. We got our name from Adobe Flash. And that's actually how I got into web stuff, right? I was building my site on Angel Fire. Then I was building the site in Flash. And then I was, it was just kind of like, I got to learn this stuff because my band needs a message board. There's people who want to talk about the band on the internet.
Yeah. Well, what were the first?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is, right? Same
Totally.
with you, Max. Yeah.
I needed a website for my band. Yeah.
What
Same with
kind
Wes,
of-
actually, with my co-host. Yeah.
Oh, he was in a band too. What did he play?
Oh, that's a great question.
You should have a syntax band.
Yeah.
You should do a Christmas album.
I actually really want to get a drum kit again. I mean, I have a drum set, but it freaks my dog out. So I can't play. So I want to get an electric one, right? You need to plug in the headphones. But yeah, we'll see.
What instrument did you say Wes played?
I don't know now that we say this. I feel like it was probably guitar, but I cannot picture him playing an instrument. So I'll have to talk to him.
Even if I try, I can't even picture him holding an instrument.
I know. Maybe he was the singer. I don't know. I'll have to ask him.
He could sing. I bet you.
I've seen the photo of his band. I've just never seen him holding an instrument.
with your so you got into web design and technical stuff with the band. What was the first kind of few things that you did to make money off of the skills?
It wasn't for a long time. I went to school for music. I was going to be a musician, and then it wasn't until like after college that I was working kind of odd jobs, like worked as an accountant. I was like a projectionist, all kinds of weird little things around. And like, I hadn't really clued in on the fact that
like at a movie theater,
at the school, at the University of Michigan.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I had to do film reels. I had to do digital projectors, which was awesome. Let me tell you, being a projectionist with a digital projector is you show up at 7 a.m. and you turn the projector on. Like, that's the job. And I just brought my computer and I worked on coding stuff. And my parents had a tea store online, a green tea store. So I had to learn how to build the green tea store. They weren't paying me for it, but I got like that was like one of my first professional projects.
Nice.
And then I was looking to like, I have these skills now. Let me do some freelance projects. So I just started looking on Craigslist. That was like a time when you could probably still do that. And I got local clients all over, and some really awful, some okay. And I honestly, freelancing probably wasn't for me because I'm just not that type of person. But I got to do some cool stuff. I even did an actual like Travis, you'd be proud of me. I did a brand that actually made it onto the top of a storefront.
Okay.
Like I did the whole brand for it.
You did the branding.
I did
Nice.
The color palette. I did the logo. I did their website.
What was their product? What kind of store was it?
It was sustainable clothing. It was in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and the store was Perpetua was their name. And funny enough, while I was working on this, my dad, who's like kind of an idea man, he came up with the idea to call it Perpetua Boutique Organique. And they kept it. They loved it.
Nice. That's awesome. You said you went to school in Michigan. I understand like it was in really a unique program.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the Performing Arts Technology at the University of Michigan. And it's a program that there was four different qualifications you could go within that program. So the first one would be like music technology with performance. One was music technology with composition. So those are like really heavy music ones. And then mine was music technology with media arts, which meant I had to take dance, I had to take video, I had to take a lot of video. I took like projection installation art. I had to take computer programming. And then the fourth one was with engineering, which was just like straight math and science, and then included into music, which is what my buddy, the bassist in my band did, and somebody I still talk to today, Devin. And the people in that program were just like outrageously talented. They're all, like half of them became famous, so it's crazy.
One of them is the guy from Wolf.
Wolfpack, yeah.
Wolfpack.
Yeah. In fact, several members of Wolfpack went to the University School of Music. In fact, I had classes with most of those guys, and we went to a wedding where they were all there, and they were teaching my son to play the drums on a little drum pad and stuff.
So
and
cool.
yeah, they were singing Baby Shark to him when he was 2 years old. It was pretty cool.
That's wild. I watch Holy Trinities on YouTube all the time. I like the work that they did.
I know. Yeah,
It's
Jack
so
is
good.
crazy, man. Yeah, he's a wild
Yeah,
guy.
Jack.
And my buddy Devin is their executive engineer or something, or I don't know. He's their mastering engineer. That's all he does for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, he works a lot with them and really tight with those guys. They do a lot of collabs, and he's got a really good audio plugin company, Good Hertz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know this stuff, Max? The Good Hertz plugins?
I might.
They're like they make a Wolf compressor, which is like a really big deal, right?
Yeah, they make some really interesting. Because that's always been Devin.
Hertz.
His name's Devin Kerr. That's his like specialty has always been like high end understanding of audio, spatial audio, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, but yeah, I who else?
We also
the
have a
guitarist was
I have seen this.
yeah.
The Wolf compressor. Yeah, I've come across this in Good Hertz before. Yeah.
So the Wolf is also Wolfpack is the name of their band. And they have a lot of really great videos on YouTube. Very, very funny, very interesting stuff. And then also the guy, Jack, we've said this before. He does these, he just talks about, he made a video about the tambourine and just talks for hours about a tambourine.
I love the tambourine video.
Yeah, it's so good. And we also have a common friend. I work with him every day. Chris went to your program, right?
Yes.
So Chris is an engineer turned PM, and I work with him at Google, and I see him every day. And he was on vacation. I got a photo from him or a text from you, and it was like a selfie with both of you. And I was like, what, two people that I know in separate worlds are like actually homies? That's
worlds
pretty
are
wild.
colliding.
Yeah.
He's from Michigan as well. And we met through the program, and we go skiing every year and stuff. So yeah, he's a good friend. And who else? There's a guy, a good friend of mine who was also in my program. He plays guitar for 30 Seconds to Mars with Jared Leto. One of the people I stood next to at graduation got second place on The Voice. There's just always crazy talented people, and you're just everybody, you're looking around at the people you went to school with, and we're like, oh, you all did stuff. Yeah.
All stars. Wow.
I was working as a projectionist while all these people were doing big stuff, and I was like, what am I doing wrong here? Yeah.
That's so wild. You keep in contact with quite a lot of that whole cohort.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, they're all great. Yeah, and everybody there was only 3 people in each of those subsections. So there's only 3 people in the media arts. It was me, the guy who plays guitar for 30 Seconds to Mars, and the girl who got second place on The Voice, Michelle Shamuel and Jamie Sheffman. And so it was us 3, right? And so I was with these people in every class. And so you keep in touch.
That's really cool. We have a comment here wanting to talk about the current market and possible career paths. We'll hold that question for later, but I just want to leave an open loop there to our listeners who are asking these questions in the live chat. But so we were talking about syntax a little bit ago. I want to jump into that. So how did you kind of get started with media? And you did Level Up Tuts first, I think, and then linked up with West Boss. You want to kind of walk us through how syntax was born?
Yeah. It started for me. I would always watched a lot of YouTube, even 2011, whatever. I got my first dev job March of 2011 because I'd been working freelance doing stuff, but I got my first real agency job in 2011. And my boss and I there would always watch various there was 1 or 2 YouTube channels like The New Boston and stuff.
The New Boston.
Yeah, and I was just like, this guy, he's cranking out these videos. He's probably making a ton of money on it, and he doesn't really know his stuff. I don't really know my stuff either, but he doesn't really. So, why can't I do this? and so I had all the video editing training. I worked as a video editor professionally, and like I just was like, oh, I'm gonna do it, and then proceeded to do nothing with it. And then the February of 2012, I got a concussion, and at that point, from dancing.
From dancing, okay.
Yeah, I got it on video too. It's kind of crazy. And
what happened? What are the details of your concussions?
Oh man, I'll have to send it to you at some point. I'm doing a move called an elbow air flare. You're on this elbow and your legs are in the air. You're only on this forearm, and you launch into the air, and then you land on this one.
Right.
And then you try to do that continually. But what happened was I did that, and I landed here, and then I went to bring it down to a lower, like a ground move. And when I brought it down, this hand kind of missed, and I just like slammed my head. So it's like right here, I got a big bruise. It was the day before I was supposed to get my engagement photos taken, which my wife was not psyched about. We had to reschedule them.
Oh, wow.
So I couldn't dance I couldn't do anything. And I was going to dance 3 times a week. So I took that Monday, Wednesday, Friday dance time, and I turned it into recording time. And I just started pushing out videos. A couple months later, I was doing 9 videos a week. And then I did that for a few years. So I was pushing like 200 some videos a year.
Damn.
Yeah.
So much work.
300 some videos a year. Yeah, it was a lot. It was, I was doing like, all right, a WordPress tutorial series that was like 90 plus videos long. So, and it was really just like, what am I doing at work today? All right, I'm going to record it and talk about it. And then that's it. And I'm going to take like one little thing that people search for. Like I've searched for this in a Drupal. I hit this bug. I know people are searching for it and the results aren't good. So the title of the video is going to be, how to fix this specific error. And people will find it. And that's really what I did. I just started in March of 2012 March of 2012 is when I really started. And just did that for a while, till 2015, 2016. Yeah.
Good 4 or 5 years right there.
Yeah, a long time.
300 per year. Was there like a moment where it started like really picking up and you're like, okay, I feel like I have a groove right now?
Maybe like 6 months in.
Yeah.
I got one of my videos shared by the project SAS, which is like a CSS preprocessor, as you know. And I was the first one to do SAS videos. SAS was like unheard of at that point because it was a Ruby specific thing. And it was built in Ruby. It was not hard. It was not hard to use it in JavaScript, but it was like very much ingrained in the Ruby community. And it was always paired with this HTML templating language, Haml. So it was always just SAS and Haml. It was never SAS. It was SAS and Haml. And I went to a meetup, and there was PHP devs talking about SAS and Haml. And I gave it a try. I was like, holy cow, this rules. And then I made some videos on it. They shared them because there was no content on YouTube about it. And then you saw like the views spike up like right away because they had a bigger following at that point. Yeah. So that helped me out a lot. Yeah.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, was there any the memorable things were like linking on to things that people were looking for that there wasn't a lot of answers for. So it's kind of like SEO strategies.
I had a lot of SEO strategy. Yeah. And it was mostly just like, and that's even today how a lot of my videos still succeed on YouTube was like, I thought really hard about like, what are people going to search for on Google, not just on YouTube to find this stuff. And it worked. In like long term, I wasn't thinking, how can I get 100 video or 100 views on this video today? I was thinking, how can I get 4,000 videos or views on this video a year from now or whatever at that time?
Yeah.
Because I wasn't getting any traffic. So I was definitely like thinking long term.
So how did that transition into syntax? Where did that come in?
I was trying to make money off of level up tutorials because it's tough to do all of that when YouTube's like cutting your ad rev. So I was doing premium courses where I'd have a few videos for a course available on YouTube and the rest behind a paywall. People always hated that. They would always send me mean comments on YouTube about it. And I released a course like a week apart from Wes, kind of by chance, with the exact same name. It's a basic name, React for Beginners, right?
Yeah.
But he messaged me and he was like, hey man, like, I don't know if you saw this, but I just released React for Beginners like 2 weeks ago. And like, can you not do that? And I was really cool about it. And I was like, oh, sure, I'll change it. And I changed it like that day. And I I don't know if he knew about my channel beforehand, but he paid attention to my channel. And then he was trying to break into YouTube. Like, he had a big following and he was trying to break into YouTube. I had a YouTube and I was trying to break into sales. So we got together with a couple other guys, a guy who owns Egghead, which is a training site, and then a couple other YouTubers who didn't stick around, and a guy who was big in the meteor community, Josh Owens. And we just started meeting once a week to share tips and tricks.
Okay.
My thing was always,
group.
I'll show you how to edit quickly. I'll show you how to get good YouTube SEO, and you guys show me how to sell stuff better and how to build an audience. Yeah.
Right. And so that led to Syntax?
Yeah, it was like, it kind of fizzled out after a year and a half or so. And Wes was like, hey, I've been thinking about doing a podcast. And he and I just had a good rapport. We kind of started this thing. And yeah, we just had a good rapport. And it was kind of just like talking to a friend that you'd only just met. But it was like, man, we have an audience, and the audiences don't really overlap that much. I have a YouTube audience, you have your Twitter audience. If we started a podcast, we'd probably have a pretty good mutual audience of people who'd be interested in a web dev podcast. We both really didn't like most of the web dev podcasts out because they felt too dry for us. They felt like you were listening to a coding book or something. And it's like, well, let's we're both kind of like goofy people. Let's have fun with it. Let's be like a little bit more, we're just two dudes who like this stuff. Let's talk about it.
Well, what do you think is the difference between making content for like podcast format versus making tutorials, and like which do you prefer?
Yeah, it's tough to say now because I've done Syntax just hit 800 episodes. In fact, I don't know if this probably isn't public information yet, but our 800th episode guest is John Rezick, the guy who created jQuery, and it's going to be a really awesome episode. I think it's coming out next Friday, and I'm really stoked about that one. So
that's very cool.
Yeah, it was a pretty amazing conversation because it's like I've been using jQuery like basically since the start. So
yeah,
but yeah, okay. So I don't know, Travis. I would say like 3 years ago I would have said probably video still, and then now the podcasting stuff is so natural to me that I'm a talker and I can just talk with my buddy about the stuff I like.
Yeah.
And like we can share tips and tricks with each other. I can learn something from him. He could learn something from me. And man, it's a lot of fun. I don't know. So I would say podcasting now. I didn't know. And now that the podcast is on video, one thing that we're doing, Travis, is we're sharing our screen a lot and actually sharing code and docs while we're podcasting. So it's almost like the podcast is evolving into like back into what I was doing before. So yeah.
Yeah, but the podcast is more social, like, right? Because you're
very social.
Like, you have a counterpart to engage with and like bounce ideas off of. Like, there's something really, I don't know, lonely about making video content for you. Just like it's just you and a camera, and you're like, hi, and like nobody's there.
I was never good at that, anyways. There was always something I was always very jealous of you, Travis. Was that like I was always like, man, he's really likable, he's really good on like camera, and I was just like my very first time, I'm like putting the camera in my face, and I'm like, I don't like really so uncomfortable about this. Yeah, I had a lot of comments about, man, this guy's awkward on camera and all that stuff. So,
they would say that.
Oh, dang. Yeah. Oh, man, I got some mean comments over the years.
Wow. Well, tell me some memorable moments from Level Up, like making videos. Like, what are you most proud of from Level Up?
Yeah, honestly, one of the things I'm most proud of, Travis, was launching the website that we worked on together. Travis designed our website, levelup.video. And for me, that was like the best website I ever made. I really liked working on that, and it was just it was a beautiful design to implement, Travis. So that was really, and I mean that so sincerely. It was a highlight for me.
Dude, same.
Yeah.
And that's where I met Caitlin. We mentioned Caitlin earlier. Yeah, dude, that was a really, really great project. My Jana, who's normally here, Jana is a normal co-host on this show, but fun fact, she's not here today because she's in a kickboxing tournament today.
Gosh, that's like we hung out with Jana for that week, and like I feel like that's classic Jana. Like I can get that vibe now. Yeah,
like two weeks ago, maybe 3, she was in a Tahitian dance showcase, which is like shaking the hips, doing the dances and like kind of telling the stories with their hands. And then like fast forward 2-3 weeks, she's been training for her tournament today, so she's going to be
that's
kicking
amazing.
and punching. This morning she left, and I was like, okay, remember to kick.
Yes. Number one rule of kickbox.
No, but she's really, really good, and it's been such a fun thing to watch her journey. She's been into it for maybe, I think we could be coming up on 2 years now with it, and she's kicking butt. So I'm excited to hear from her later today on how she did in the tournament. But yeah, Jana was a part of that process too, with working working on your site.
Yeah, and it was a great experience overall, Travis. You know, it was a lot of fun to work with you guys, but like I think the work that came out of it was great too. I think also too, you know, the first time that the subscription service really started to take off, because I had been working on selling my content in some sort of way for like 5 years and was making zero traction. I released a course one time and sold none of them for a whole 2 weeks. And I was just like, I have like 200,000 followers on YouTube at this point. I release a course and I can't sell a single one. Just because people are, you know, like, hey man, you release 900 videos or you've released, you know, 300 videos a year for several years. Why would I ever buy anything from you? And, so the first time that when we started to really pick up with people who were paid subscribers on the service, I was like, you know, finally, you know, I've been working so hard on this, you know, so.
That is awesome. It must feel really good.
Sorry. What was the pinnacle moment that changed or that seemed to cause that boost in subscribers?
It was the podcast, actually.
Moment.
Yeah, it was the podcast. And I think it was being exposed to an audience that wasn't expecting to get everything for free, which is a great thing. I want to do everything for free. And honestly, that's the best part about what we're doing on Syntax now, is that we have no ads on our YouTube channel. So no ads whatsoever. We give it all for free. It's just all about the content. But like, you can't do that as a single develop or a single like business owner trying to, you know, provide for your family and stuff like that. So yeah, it was really, the podcast was promoting my things in a different way. I was able to every single episode say, check out my course on this. I have a course on this. Or we might do a video on Svelte. And I say, you know what? I have a whole course on Svelte. Let's talk about that, you know? So I think that really helped a lot.
Yeah. So you were able to step away from advertising on the podcast because your podcast was acquired by Sentry.
Yes.
Is this a trend that you see, that like media, you know, media brands are being acquired by tech brands? Have you seen the other examples of that?
I don't know if I've seen too many. I mean, there was a few, but like nobody's really kind of done in the way that Sentry is doing it for us. Where like they didn't acquire it to acquire the content. They acquired it to build the brand, to build it as a thing. And it was like they put money and time behind it and gave us the resources and say, you know, hey guys, you can do exactly what you were doing before, but now you can do it much better. And like that was the conversation from the start. When they first reached out to us, they posed a question to us, and it was like, if you could keep doing what you're doing right now, but did not have to worry about you know, producing 24 videos a month for your business, like how different, like what would you do? What could you do with it? And that's like where it kicked off from. It was all about, you know, how can we make it better, not how can we crush its soul.
Yeah, I think about CSS Tricks with Chris Coyer.
Yes.
And that was acquired by a tech brand. And
DigitalOcean.
That was DigitalOcean. See, that's a really big name too.
They also bought Scotch.io and did the same thing.
And they shuttered it, right? They let it die. And I can imagine why, like, you know, a new VP comes in with a new agenda and they're like, I don't know what that is. I don't care about that thing.
Totally.
Is that something that you kind of like, is that in the back of your mind ever? Like, is your brand is owned by somebody else?
Yeah, I mean, that part was tough. It was especially tough, like, once the realization set in, it's like, oh, this brand that I had been working on Level Up tutorials for X amount of years is now owned by somebody else. And it's not owned by somebody else to keep it going. It's owned by somebody else to merge it with Syntax, which honestly, you know, I didn't mind that. I was really exhausted from Level Up from doing it for so long. So like for me, it was like, all right, I think it's time to move on from this. But it just felt like I don't know. it felt like the right people to trust. We've known
awesome.
them for a long time.
Yeah.
That was a big thing. We definitely knew them, and we had worked with them for so long. So then when they're coming to us and they're saying this is how it is, it wasn't like a concern about are these people trustworthy in this. But there is that degree of if the board sees it as like a or let's say the company goes public and now everything is scrutinized, right?
Yeah.
Like, is the board going to be able to say this is the value that Syntax brings? So one of the things that Ben Vinegar has been doing for Syntax, which he's been an amazing manager and like mentor for me in many ways, is that like he makes it very clear that like even though you are doing big things all the time, and it's obvious that you're doing big things, you want to build a trail to show everybody those big things constantly. So we have like an internal blog, and we're always sharing our wins. We did this, we did that. It was big. It was awesome. So we're constantly making ourselves be known as being like, we're putting in the work. We're not just like kind of silently putting in the work. We have to be a little bit louder about it. So
that's a good strategy.
If you can present to them that like, yeah, I'm bringing big things, I'm doing big things, and this is why we're doing it, and this is what it means to you, then the likelihood of them, giving you the axe is probably much less.
Dude, that's wisdom. That's really and now that I think about it, it's so obvious too. Because like I work at a big company, I work at Google, and you just kind of have to do that, right? You have to show up and broadcast your wins all the time. Like you almost have to justify your existence all the time.
Yeah, I get that.
That's interesting.
Because nobody knows what you're doing if you don't tell them. I mean, that's just how it is. Yeah.
Because I've had a podcast that was owned by Google, and it got closed down. And I think now that I'm like hearing you, and I'm like, oh yeah, maybe that was the thing we didn't do right. Like I didn't broadcast upwards my wins. I just
what was the value? Yeah. What was the value, and how did you express that? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And a new VP came in, and they were like, "What's the value?" And nobody could really explain it, or didn't want to. I don't know what happened. It was kind of like it was in another, department. And the way and Google is so big, it's like every little product or department is like its own little kingdom, And so like the kingdom over there owned my podcast, and I was just like, well, they're like, well, we're not going to do it anymore. I'm like, but please.
Yeah, it's so funny, Travis, that you said it. He's like, before. So Ben was on sabbatical when we started with Sentry, and we did Syntax without Ben. It was just Caitlin, Wes, and I for about like 6 months or so, and we were all just very heads down doing what we're doing. And like, I'm sure Caitlin was like, what is this? Like, I'm in a completely new company. Like, what's the context here? And then Ben showed up. And he was like, all right, we need to identify exactly like what we're doing, like why we're doing it. And it's not like KPIs. We're not like tracking things like really super closely, but we know what value we're bringing. We know what we need to do to get there. And he like brought like a level of professionalism and organization, but without like number one priority is like, don't kill the vibe. Don't kill the vibe, but let's bring some structure in. So yeah,
it's so smart. Like I'm like kicking myself right now. I'm just right now in front of you. I'm realizing why my podcast was canceled is because I didn't bring that value which Ben was doing. It's just like representing it as a part of the business, right?
Totally.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Gosh. Okay. My mind is just kind of blowing right now.
Even just like giving like a broad like what is Syntax helped really well. Like Syntax brings value in these following ways as like a mission statement, or not even like a classic mission statement, but like that. It's just really, it solidified it all for us. Like, what are we actually doing,
Dude, that is cool. That is cool. I'm glad to hear that. And I'm glad that Ben is a really good asset to the Syntax brand, keeping
he's great. Yeah.
alive in the context of a bigger business. So what kind of projects are you guys working on at Syntax that you're kind of excited about in the near future? You mentioned that you have an interview with the jQuery creator. That's pretty cool. What else you got?
Man, we're some of the stuff I'm not talking about yet, but I've told you over text, Travis. You know about it, but for the most part, right now it's really about video for us. So every show we do, we're like, can we show code in this episode without making it a bad experience for the audio listeners? And we've expanded to like all these video platforms, TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, and we're doing the podcast, and we have CJ on doing these videos. So we're like, really, we built out this like I don't know, this whole system of like how we do it over the past year, and like this next year is going to just be about like upping the content. Let's go, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, short term, I don't know. We have a lot of really good interviews scheduled. It seems like every single week, the people that we're getting on the show are going to be amazing. Some of which aren't recorded. So the John Reisick one's the only one I'm comfortable announcing right now. But yeah, it's just, you know what, my favorite thing that I'm most excited about is just like getting to chat on the show. You know,
Yeah.
the vibes are right. Yeah.
Do you feel like syntax helps you to stay sharp with your coding practical skills, or is there another way that you kind of stay sharp?
It's endlessly made me not only have to stay sharper, but made me better. Especially because like, you know, you're showing up to a podcast recording, and sometimes it's a joint episode where Wes and I both know a lot about the topic. We're both, you know, collaborating on the notes. Sometimes Wes is the expert. Sometimes I'm the expert, and I'm teaching Wes. And so we have those kind of just general vibes when we're going to approach a show. And if I'm teaching Wes stuff, I know, because he's Wes, he's going to ask me some hard questions every single time, because the guy, he thinks like that. So he's going to be like, well, what if you use this method in this way? I'm like, I don't know. Like, so you kind of have to be prepared. And I like, you know, really study or write demos and get my hands dirty a lot. I'm always like building stuff. So yeah.
It's awesome. Well, let's turn back to this question we had from the audience member a little bit ago. This is from Nishinkt. Says, I hope you guys are doing well. Is there any chance you guys could talk about the current market and what possible career paths for new grads with intern experience as a web developer?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is something interesting. Jana comes into my office the other day, and she says, you know, everybody knows how to code now. All the kids are going to know how to make websites. In the future, what are we going to do? Like, she's like, and I was like, I don't know. Are we going to become plumbers? Like, what, you want to do a TaskRabbit thing? Like, what's going to go on? But what's your take on this? Like, what are the possibilities and opportunities for new people entering the field, and just young people in general who are looking to grow up and have jobs?
I think in some regard it's impossible to know, especially with the way things are headed. You don't know like what's going to be there and what's not going to be there. I think the things that work are differentiating yourself in many kinds of ways, networking. I think those things will always work, you know, just showing up to meetups and talking to people, you know, letting people know that you're looking for work. Have your portfolio and your GitHub stuff down, so if they do look at it, then you have, you know, they're not fighting to you know, find your work somewhere. But, you know, I think, you know, 10 years from now, who knows what the tools we're going to be using are even like. So I think staying current, staying up on the stuff, being passionate about what you do. I know that's like something that people, you know, scoff at sometimes, but like I think really enjoying what I'm doing, I'm building things, I'm making things, is like paramount to being seen as somebody who they would want to have. Because if I'm really excited about this, you know, who knows what project that I'm building. I built a breakdancing app. If I'm really excited about this breakdancing app I built, like, it's not even about the code itself. It's like, I was able to make this thing, and I'm really excited about it. Let me tell you about why I'm really excited about it. I think that stuff always works. And again, it's hard to do this because it's takes a lot of effort. But like blogging, social media, that stuff works. And it sucks that it works because it's a lot of work, but it works, you know? Yeah.
I think that's really wise, Scott. Like it's no matter how things change, like maybe, sure, you'll enter a prompt and get a new website in the future. And maybe everybody coming out of kindergarten will be able to make a website that we kind of struggle with today and like a big accomplishment today. But, you know, no matter what the tooling looks like what you were saying, is those strategies of being open, being available, being engaged, and putting yourself, like, you know, casting the right light on your work, contextualizing your work to make it easier for people to understand. Yeah. I think, that's really, really good wisdom. Thanks for saying that. All right. Well, let's talk about how has, you know, this kind of industry changed from when you started? Like, what, like, is there a big difference in, gosh, in just answering that last question, I imagine like, you know, those same principles will be true back then, right? Putting yourself out there in the right light would be more valuable than like knowing how to design and code in tables versus floating CSS versus grids now, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it is. And like, it's happened kind of slowly, so people don't even notice it, and they say it's like AI going to take our jobs.
Yeah.
But like in the same regard, JavaScript took the HTML developer's job. Like for a big part of my career, it was mostly writing HTML and CSS, and then at some point, I'm like almost writing entirely JavaScript with HTML and CSS as like a foundation. But like, it has been like an evolution to the point where like now you can't just be the person who's really good at HTML, because really good HTML is something you have to learn. It's obviously not effortless, but there's a billion people who are good at HTML, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to really stay ahead of, you know, where things are and have a bigger view. I've always had kind of a problem with that, where I'm too far ahead, which is, I'm not trying to boast here. I'm too far ahead to a negative degree, where I'm seeing all new stuff and I'm like, oh, this is going to really take off. This is going to hit, and like goes nowhere. So like I'll invest a bunch of time in learning something that's like not relevant at all. So yeah.
Just because you find it interesting.
Yes. Yeah. Purely because I think it's neat. Yeah.
Right. But I think like that's the muscle that gets you really flexing, you know, it's that same skill of like following something because you think it's neat and interesting is what got you to the places where people want to hear from you in the first place.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's why people like the podcast. I mean, we're two dudes who are excited about what we do, and we like to talk about it. Like, I got to tell you about this local first app I just built. I'm really excited that it runs entirely on my phone. Okay.
Yeah, every time I tune into Syntax, you guys are referencing things that you're like, oh, I made like a chores app for my kid. Like you just make small projects or whatever. Oh, I whipped up a thing because I had a need for it. You guys are really, really practical with the projects that you make, and you get to leverage those as learning opportunities for your audience.
Yeah, for sure. In fact, Travis, I was just working on an app today. I kind of missed the days of having a GUI for things. So I was building a GUI in like a local like desktop app for running my packages. So I'll say, here's my apps, and then it gives me all the scripts from my package.json. I can just click run. It gives me the logs there. And it's so stupid because you can do it in a terminal like in no time. Yeah. But I miss having a GUI, and it's going to like save which ones, and I can say, oh, here, just let's get to work, and it can start these ones for me. It's just like, it's a little fun project just because. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I think there's a market for that too. Like, think about CodeKit. You know, like that just comes
exactly.
from.
Yes.
It just comes from like, I don't want to do terminal because I'm scared I might break something. So for people, you know, like that, this is perfect for them.
Yeah.
Would you consider like packaging up your GUI and selling it as an app?
Yeah, if it's good. You know, I'm building it in Rust, and I'm not really good at Rust, so I'm like trying to figure this out. But I have it working right now, and it gives you tabs of all the logs that you have going. So it shows you all the processes. It shows you which of your apps are running. So if it's good, yeah, I'll see where it goes. I just want to see if I could build something like this, and it turns out it's not awful. A couple hours here, a couple hours there, and we'll get it going. I've been doing that a lot more lately, where I've just been like, instead of working on things that are bigger, I've been working on things that are smaller and getting them out the door. I finished my breakdancing app, which was always kind of a work in progress, but I just started from scratch.
What does your breakdancing app do? What's the function of it?
It's all the things that I wish I had at practice. So people would write down their moves in a notebook, right? And so like you have a whole bunch of moves that you've created yourself. I have them all now in a like organized in a nice way in the app. So it says, here's all your different footwork moves, and here's how good they are. Like, here's how people react to them. I call it like the props. How many props do you get for this move? And so I have that functionality where I have my move notebook. And then I can use that in practice, where I go to my practice mode and it has all my moves, and I can check off if I've practiced this move today or not. So I can see like what I've worked on, when I haven't worked on it. And then I have another one where it's like, here's a 30-second timer, because sometimes your sets are 30 to 45 seconds long. Every 30 seconds, it fires a club air horn. Lets me know that, all right, that's your 30 seconds. And then you can practice. Yeah, you practice going hard for 30 seconds, take a rest for 30 seconds, hard for 30, and then you just do that until you're toast.
I get it. It's like Strava for breakdancers.
Exactly.
Yeah. Are you distributing it to all your breakdance homies?
I haven't really, because I just kind of I added some big functionality to it. I wanted to it's local now. Even though it's a web app, it runs entirely local data, local on your device, works offline and everything. breakdancing studios, notoriously bad Wi-Fi. Battles, notoriously bad Wi-Fi. So I
Right.
was like, I got to get this thing working locally.
That's cool.
Interesting.
That's cool.
I think this is a good thing to point out here, and a trend, like with Level Up, with this app, with a couple of the other projects and endeavors that you mentioned. You're solving problems that you had, your
Yeah.
own problems, or exploring an interest that you have, and that does seem to be a theme, right? Like if you have a problem, you can pretty much bet that other people have that problem. And by solving that problem and offering that solution to people, not only are you establishing yourself as an expert in your field and handling that communication step, but that's, I think, the way to stay interested in it. You're solving something that you want to solve personally. So going back to what Nishant asked, I think that's some pretty good general advice there to find problems that you have, solve them, and then that's a little window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always recommend when anybody's trying to learn anything, we talk about it in the show all the time. If you're trying to learn anything, don't worry about don't let the thing you're trying to learn be what's driving you forward. That's not the motivator.
Mm-hmm.
The motivator is like the dangling carrot at the end. What's the dangling carrot at the end? For me, it's like, I'm going to have an app that I can take to dance practice. That's the carrot. I'm like, I'm learning this thing because I got to get to this carrot, not because I want to, technically understand how to do X, Y, and Z.
I want a website for my band. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, finishing is a skill, right? Like finishing is like finishing an app. What's that?
No, it's my worst. I'm awful at finishing, which is why I've been starting to do smaller apps lately.
Right. No, I think that's really the key, like there, because like so many of us start on how many projects that we never, finish, and but really the only thing of value is a finished thing, right? Not like a half-baked idea and a few experiments. How do you keep on top of that? How do you motivate yourself to finish? Is it just because you only do things that are personally exciting, or do you have, like, for example, I started writing a screenplay a few weeks ago, and I have an accountability. My friend, I call him up every Tuesday. And I go, here's what I've done this week, and I don't want to look stupid. I don't want to show up and be like, well, I didn't do anything because, I got busy or distracted. So
Yeah.
what's your secret to finishing?
I think some of that is that, like, especially with like the podcast, I show up every Tuesday to record because Wes shows up every Tuesday to record, and if neither of us didn't, we have to be accountable to each other. But for projects and stuff, I think that accountability coming from an external source is always great. Sometimes the accountability is strictly just me wanting the thing that I need to finish. Like, I need this for this specific competition because I gotta have it. But I built a habit tracker app because I didn't like any of them. They're always trying to put too many features into it. It's like, I just want a simple ass habit tracker, and I built it, and then I got like 600 users on it. And I was like, all right, now I have to support this thing because I have people using it.
That's fun. That's another way accountability works.
Yeah, right.
Like, oh no,
Internal
now I have a
and
user
external.
base.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, we're at the hour. I really appreciate you coming in, Scott, and talking with us and sharing your wisdom. I feel really inspired and energized for the coming week. I have a few rapid fire questions I want to hit you with. Before we end up and just make it light and fun. What was your first concert experience? What was the first live music you went to?
Oh man, I saw a Green Day on the Nimrod tour when I was in 6th grade.
What?
It was my first concert. My dad got us tickets, and I was the youngest person there. It was at the State Theater in. It's actually funny that you asked me this question because Courtney and I were just talking about this, and I was saying, like, the thing I remember most about it was how smoky it was. I wasn't used to that much cigarette smoke, and you went into the concert venue. I was like, holy cow, man, this is like,
People were
you could still smoke
in the concert.
Yeah, you could still
It
smoke.
sounds
in a
so
concert.
crazy to hear that now.
Yeah, well, I don't know what year that would have been, but I after that I saw like Everclear, like the same year. I saw The Offspring, I saw Weezer, I saw a lot of bands. Yeah,
that was a good era
94
for
to
music.
96.
What's that?
I'm gonna say that was like 1994 to 1996, somewhere in that
let's
area.
see. Yeah,
Right?
my uncle was the editor of Guitar World magazine.
What?
So, yeah, for like his whole career. And so because of that, if I wanted concert tickets, like really wanted them, he could call up the venue. I kid you not. He could call up the venue and be like, I got some people coming, have some tickets at the door. and we would just go up and get the tickets. And
Wow.
sometimes they would have backstage passes on them and stuff. It was crazy. Yeah, it was extremely lucky. And that was 1997 that Nimrod came out, by the way. So it was that tour. Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Now I know who your favorite uncle is. Damn. All right. Tell me.
Yeah,
the
he
last...
used to give us a box of CDs for Christmas where he would just drag everything off of his desk and put it in a box and then send us a box full of CDs. He didn't know what it was. It was just all promotional stuff. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Tell me the last emoji that you sent to somebody.
Oh, man. Let's see. I send the eyes a lot, the 2 eyes.
What does that mean?
That's a big
I
one
see
now.
you.
Like, I'm looking at this. I sent it to my dad because we got front row seats to Vampire Weekend on Saturday at
Nice.
Red Rocks.
Damn.
And they were like and they were like right in front of us. And I sent my dad a photo of it with the 2 eyes, being like, "Can you believe this?"
That's a good one.
Yeah.
What is the app on your phone that is least used?
Least used.
Like, go to your history and scroll way back on the...
Where do you go to app
Well,
history?
like when you like swipe up and you see them all in a carousel.
You keep all your apps open?
iOS does not have that, Travis.
Yeah, it does. Where's my phone?
I close all mine. I'm like a OCD
Where's my
closer
phone?
with my apps.
Oh, you're talking about like which ones are currently open that you have open?
Well, that's how you... Yeah, that's what I'm imagining. I guess it's not true history, is it?
Yeah.
I don't know where my phone is.
Yeah. For me, it's Starbucks right now because I haven't
Starbucks
gone
app.
to Starbucks in a couple of weeks. But I go to
Okay.
Starbucks frequently, and I do use the app, and I actually really like the app. And I use that as
Shout out
inspiration
Starbucks.
all the time. Yeah.
That was like one of the first like private company apps, right? Like I remember back
No,
in the
really?
day in the design world, like when like the App Store became a thing, like all the designers were specking out Starbucks apps for some reason. Yeah.
Yeah, they were one of the first in the App Store.
Yeah.
Wow.
If you were a veggie, what would you be? And why? A vegetable.
Yeah, vegetable. Oh man, that's a good one.
Asparagus.
I'm not asparagus. I don't vibe with asparagus.
I
don't like it. I don't
asparagus vibes.
really like much about it. I'm gonna be honest. I'll eat it, but I just don't like much about it in general. Like,
All right.
What
Noted.
vegetable do you vibe most
Yeah.
with?
What's your vibe
Yeah.
veg? What's your veg vibe?
I mean, my gut says broccoli, but you
Yeah.
know, yeah,
I'll take a broccoli.
yeah.
That's a good one. Okay, last one. Let's say you invite me over to your house. We're going to play a game. It's game night. And you want to win. You're very competitive. What game are you going to make us play to ensure that you win?
Is this like a video game or a board
Whatever.
game or?
It's game night. Probably like a table board game, yeah. Family around the
Yeah,
table.
if it's a table board game, it's Risk. I'm not losing.
Because you're going
Very-
to tire everybody out. Holy smokes. That game is like 6 hours.
Let me tell you, man. I love Risk, and I'll play on like the phone and whatever. But like, yeah, I'm good at Risk too. I know all the nuanced rules.
You play it on the phone? Like you dial in to play Risk with people you
I'll
don't
play
know?
online. I'll play people online. Yeah.
Holy
Let's
smokes.
go. It's much faster on the phone. The games don't last that long because you can sim through everything. There's no dice rolling. You could say sim 50 dice rolls or whatever. But when we did in college, man, this is I swear it was fun in college. In college, one time we had the police called on us, and the cops opened the door, and we're like, we hear this noise complaint. There's a party go on, and he looks in, and it's 3 dudes sitting around a table playing Risk, and we're just yelling at each other. And he's just like, all right, never mind. Like, I just didn't even bother with it.
That's so cool. I've been to a multi-board Risk like party before.
Oh, wow.
It was
Nice.
pretty wild. Yeah, like we showed up, the guy had I think 3 tables and you couldn't like see you to like shout out your thing, or I don't know. I don't know the rules of Risk very much. I definitely did not win. But it was like
World domination.
you could tell it was
This
like
game of gold.
like a thing to be into. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Scott, for showing up. Do you have anything that you want to name drop, anybody you want to shout out, or any like projects you want to promote or anything like that?
Yeah, check us out on YouTube at Syntax FM, YouTube at Syntax FM. We're producing a lot of content, and it's not just the podcast. We're doing the deep explainers. I just actually, Travis, I did my first tutorial that I've done since being acquired in Level Up going away. And I did like a 45-minute long tutorial on working with a local database in your browser and building local first software. So we build an app that works offline. You can export your data, so you own your own data. It all loads entirely from local, so it's instantaneous. So yeah, I'm doing stuff like that. So check it out.
FM, check it out. That's cool. Well, thank
Love
you
it.
so much. We're going to jump off the stream. Thank you, everybody, for showing up and asking your questions and supporting the channel. And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
End
Ciao.
stream now.